route of going for a fully self-righting lifeboat fleet.
The Isla lifeboat and the Barrow Island lifeboat both capsized on the same evening. I went to Barrow Island to investigate the aftermath of this, and she had been righted by one of these airbags the RNLI had fitted, as a result, if you like, of the decision to modify the fleet. And I do remember thinking, when I met all the coxswains and the crew afterwards, that they'd had a terrible experience, but they'd been saved by this facility.
Boat safety was the big priority. A major investment programme provided a safer, faster service, and almost 40 years later, improvements are still being made.
What the Tamar does give us is the ability to operate perhaps in shallower areas of water. She's capable of operating anywhere offshore, up to 100 miles offshore in all sorts of weathers. She's inherently self-righting. We've looked very much at crew seating because we know that when the volunteers go out and they're adrenaline fired up to go through the mountainous seas, the shock loads they can experience when they come down off a big wave can be absolutely huge. So we've looked with the Tamar with some new crew seating to isolate them from that shock, to make sure they don't suffer from spinal injuries, etc., which is possible.
The boats and the equipment that they've got for safety, it's unreal what we used to have when we started first. I mean, all we had in the boats was a compass and a radio. Nowadays they've got all these electronic charts and all the safety gear aboard the boats, and the boats are comfortable, they're dry. I mean, the old boats, when you was launched, you were soaking wet before you got 200 yards from the slipway sometimes.
Right, a TMR lifeboat, what makes it so good is it's all automated by a system called SIMS. The mechanic comes down, and the first crewman on board, he just presses the green button, and lo and behold, it switches on all your electronics, it switches on all your navigation aids, radios, everything. All you physically have to do is start the engines. This is the engine room, 1,000 horsepower each, tremendous amount of power for the size of engines. We've got a Y boat placed in the stern of the boat here. As you can see, within seconds it's all ready to go to sea. This door here drops down just like James Bond. Press a button, down to the water, 2 crew jump into the boat, and it's launched straight away.
Today, all but the smallest lifeboats are self-righters, but there's no guarantee further disasters won't occur.
There is always the potential for this to happen, and I think we're all mindful of it, that there could be, on a winter's night, with a hell of a storm running, that it could happen again. And all we can do is try and ensure that our crews are as trained as well as possible, that the equipment, the machinery, the lifeboat is top order to try and prevent this sort of thing happening again.
Hewitt Clark is the most decorated lifeboatman of recent times. Between 1982 and 1999, Hewitt and his crew launched from Lerwick in Shetland more than 300 times, saving almost as many lives. He's collected 5 gallantry medals, 3 bronze, 1 silver, and the institution's ultimate accolade, a gold. It's the RNLI's equivalent of a Victoria Cross, and is just as hard to win. Now retired, Hewitt and his wife Margaret spend 6 months a year sailing around the Med, a far cry from the mountainous waves and hurricane-force winds in the North Sea.
It's like all the islands up there. It's very strong currents around. Loads of rain, loads of wind. We're talking sometimes in excess of 100 miles an hour. But there's the good days as well, though. Seas, who can measure the height of a sea? 50, 60 feet, who knows?
Hewitt Clark joined the lifeboat in 1968, but one of the RNLI's most glittering careers could have been cut short just a few months later.
We stood and watched the boat going out past the Bressa Lighthouse, which is just near Lerwick. Well, we could hardly see the boat. It was just spray, and it was heavy snow and probably a hurricane. Hewitt was mechanic at that time, and he spoke on the radio, and then suddenly it was silent, and I thought something had happened, and we'd only been married 6 months, and I thought, surely this can't be the end of it.
That was just the same gale as Long Hope was lost. 2 days before, I think, wasn't it? And then, of course, 2 days later, Long Hope was lost. And that could easily have been us, because we got knocked down that night, and I thought I had a very short career, sort of, and that's just how it's going to end. And then I realised the boat was coming up again, and the daylight was coming in, and suddenly she came up, right way up. But that was how near it could have been.
Hewitt had already been awarded 3 bronze medals and 1 silver when, on a vile winter's day in November 1997, he and his crew pulled off a rescue that sealed their place in RNLI folklore.
The Green Lily, as I recall, I had sailed from Lerwick in very, very bad weather, heading out, and I think had engine problems.
The conditions at the time were storm force winds and seas. The vessel had been under tow, she'd broken down, the tow had parted, and she was being driven onto rocks.
Everything seemed to take so long to be done, you know, to get him to drop his anchor took ages. He didn't appear to appreciate the situation he was in.
The helicopter was involved as well, but couldn't get close to it to begin with because there was so much that she was rolling so badly.
So it left us to try and get his anchors down so that he wasn't lying rolling so bad, so that we get alongside without smashing everything up.
Hewitt Clark was having to work alongside her in huge breaking seas to get people off that vessel.
5 crewmen were taken off, but 10 were still on board. Then rescuers got a break. One of the tugs grabbed the Green Lily's anchor chain and hauled her head into the wind. In those precious few minutes, the helicopter dropped its winchman, Bill Deacon, and airlifted the rest of the crew to safety. Deacon was swept overboard as a huge wave engulfed the deck.
It's the only rescue I've been at where one of the rescuers has lost his life, and it was hard. Knowing that we couldn't do anything for Bill. When he got washed away, we couldn't go in there. If we'd gone in there, we'd have been finished. We'd been wiped out. And so it was a very difficult decision to go back into port with the people I'd already got off. And then I come back out, and by this time it was dark and the debris was around, and you know, it was. We finally, I said it was enough. We'd done enough for one day, but we couldn't do anything for Bill.
The kids were in, and I can remember our oldest daughter, when we heard that the winchman had been killed, she was so distraught and obviously worried about her dad at the same time.
For this audacious rescue, Hewitt Clark was awarded the RNLI's Gold Medal for Gallantry. All 5 of his crew collected bronze.
The coxswain Hewitt Clark took his lifeboat into conditions that were really, really scary, and was very, very brave, a lot of skill involved. He achieved it by taking people off the Green Lily and getting them to safety.
Hewitt was a great seaman, natural seaman, and I think all I will say about his place in our history, he follows on the great tradition of fine seamen that have been coxswains of lifeboats right throughout the RNLI's history, who, when the chips are down, when the call comes and a real drama unfolds, they've got the resource and the skill and the knowledge and experience to handle it and lead their crew, often in very dangerous situations, as he did with the Green Lily, to carry out a rescue.
The 21st century RNLI in Scotland is light years away from its origins in Fraserburgh in 1858. It still depends on volunteers, but training and technology have evolved to a point that would have the pulling and sailing lifeboat men of the past scratching their beards in disbelief.
Come on guys, chop chop. You ready? Oh yeah. Okay. Take one step to the edge. Okay. Look straight out, arms in the position you require. Come on. And take one step off.
Baywatch-style lifeguards are also part of the future. Currently, they only operate in England, but soon they'll be seen on beaches all over Scotland. And boat innovations never stop.
We've not only produced sort of a fleet of 25-knot boats, the last part of which will actually be a new 25-knot boat to replace our current Mersey, our carriage launch boat, and that's in development at the moment, and we hope that by maybe sort of 2012, 2013 we might see those boats on the coast, and that will complete our 25-knot capability right around the coast of the UK and Ireland.
The RNLI has also woken up to the benefits of self-promotion. In the past, the concept would have been frowned upon, but not anymore.
We do have an image problem. The truth is we are cutting edge 21st century technology. We've got all the gear. We're actually quite a sexy organisation, but that's not how the public sees us, and that's our problem we're going to have to resolve.
Plans for the future are ambitious, but they won't work without the loyalty and courage of the crews. These men and women are the only constant in the changing 150-year-old history of the RNLI in Scotland.
We can never turn around and say we've produced something that will withstand all weathers, all seas, and put up with all conditions. We're always vulnerable, and the sea will always be the master.
I know it like the back of my hand, so it's nothing untoward to myself, but somebody that's got a job ashore, yes, they shouldn't be so modest because they are doing a brave thing.
You're always concerned and you are probably frightened, but you've got 6 other crew with you, so I have to look positive, because if I look positive, they think I'm okay, but I'm only okay because I think they're okay.
We've managed to do everything we set out to do and go out every time we were called up to go out. Well, I think any coxswain will be the same. You know, you will go out.
And this very night, while you sleep in peace, a lifeboat crew may be called out from the safety and the security of their homes, leaving anxious wives and children to wait and to pray.
This place, what you're doing, is everything I want, everything I've been dreaming of.
Well, we know one thing's for sure. Well, there's petrol bombs, there's petrol.
Being afraid isn't a way to live. Yeah, we've got to be careful, but we shouldn't be scared.
Survivors continues Tuesday at 9 on BBC One. See the previous episode on BBC iPlayer.
Anything but your usual TV detective, Kenneth Branagh is Inspector Wallander. Brand new drama in 45 minutes. First on BBC